Many nonprofit leaders know exactly what to do to get things done. You know that there are proven strategies and plans and systems out there to get you from A to B. Yet, many of you may struggle to stay consistent. Now, this inconsistency has absolutely nothing to do with what you know, and it has nothing to do with discipline. It often is about self sabotage. And that's usually rooted in fear. It's rooted in how we see ourselves, and it's also rooted in our personal relationship with money. Well, today we're going to take a deep dive and into this and unpack what's really going on and why the most capable leaders like you fall into this trap. Why nonprofit leaders self sabotage their own consistency. That is our focus. Let's huddle up. Hey, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Mark, the Fun Coach. I'm Mark Duncan. Thank you for joining me. Um, Please take a moment, like, subscribe, follow, hit that bell if you want to be reminded. If you are not getting this podcast through email, feel free to subscribe to that email and you'll be notified with links to not just the video version, but the audio version on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So today, I'm leaning into something that I know is going to touch a nerve, but I think it's important. You see, most of us, and I was in this place as well as a nonprofit leader, I know how this feels. I've been an executive director, I've been a head of development. I've run large teams, I've run small organizations, and I have experienced exactly what I'm talking about here. We get excited about a strong plan. We know we need to cultivate relationships with donors. We know we need to engage our board in a way that is going to allow for more large gifts to come to the organization. We engage in personal and professional development. But at the same time, we have a tendency to lose momentum. And the common symptoms that cause us to lose momentum are things like procrastination, overthinking, perfectionism. We get into research mode where we're constantly looking for ways to do things better, and then we find something new, and then we find that somebody says something that you shouldn't do, and we get into that. We spiral right into that space of over analyzing. All of these things are things that stand in the way of you actually getting done what you need to get done. And at the end of the day, any given day, you may feel exhausted, but you have not moved the needle. If this is you, this episode is definitely for you. Now, these behaviors, they're not random. They're not. We engage in these behaviors to protect ourselves. Right? We want to protect ourselves from what we perceive as threats. Things like failure, rejection, hearing no, or even success. We actually fear success. Imagine, and maybe you've been here, you know that you have a donor or donors that can give the organization a 5-figure gift, a 6-figure gift, a 7-figure gift. Everything is there. The data is there. The connection to the organization is there. The relationship is there enough that you can begin the process of bringing them closer to the organization. Yet, you're asking yourself all these questions about, well, should I call them or should I have so and so email them? I mean, I know I've talked to them, I know I have permission to call them, but maybe I'm intruding. And then we start to go down this very dangerous path of self sabotage. And I find in my work as a coach, this is the thing that stands in the way of the nonprofit leader that I'm working with, whether it's the executive director, head of development, board members, volunteers. It's standing in the way from securing those big gifts, which actually have an impact on the lives of the people being served. So this inconsistent action undermines credibility with your donors. If you said you were going to call somebody, reach out to them, schedule lunch with them, and you were said, I'm going to give you a call next week, and you don't because you're overthinking how to make that call, how to send that email, you've just compromised your credibility with that donor right off the bat, even before your first meeting. So you have to get consistent. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be starting over in building these relationships. How we see ourselves, both personally and professionally. And by the way, in many cases, it's one and the same. How we see ourselves has a profound impact on our outcomes, how we see ourselves as leaders, how we see ourselves as parents, how we see ourselves as adult children, fundraisers, stewards of the organization's mission. All of this, all of it directly influences consistency. And if deep down we're questioning our worth, our ability to lead, or our right to ask for that big gift, we're actually subconsciously resisting doing what would prove otherwise. See, we create this whirlwind, and we're not doing it purposely. We're not getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to do nothing. I'm not going to take the steps I need to take. We all have good intentions. But when it comes time to executing on a plan, we're afraid to move forward because we are so concerned about how we go about doing it that we don't do it at all. And days go by, weeks go by, months go by, fiscal years go by, and you're stuck in the same place you are right now, having to make difficult decisions for your organization. So here are three practical things that you need to you need to do. First, you need to have some ownership in this. Name the pattern. What pattern are you engaged in? Are you engaged in overthinking? Do you see yourself going into research mode? Do you find yourself over analyzing or wanting to be perfect? See, I always say perfection is the enemy of progress. We have to release ourselves from that need to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's an old saying that we've probably heard as kids that practice makes perfect. And thankfully, I had a coach, a football coach, that would say, no, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes better. And what's great about that is that when you say practice makes better, what does better mean? Better doesn't have a limit. Perfectionism does. So that means there's always room for growth, improvement, but you just got to do it. Got to practice so that you can get better, not necessarily aiming for perfection. So you got to name this pattern. Pay attention to where this uh, consistency is breaking down. And when you have awareness of this, it can disrupt the autopilot that you find yourself in, that you're just not even realizing that you're doing because you're going into research mode or you're picking up your phone and you're scrolling through social media. All these things that, or you're getting up and you're going to talk to someone, or you're getting up to get more coffee, or something else has popped up that you've decided to do to create sort of this busyness. Second thing you need to do is connect to the meaning of this. You got to revisit, and this has to do with what you're trying to get done. You got to connect to the meaning of what you're doing. It's a recommitment to your mission. It's a recommitment to your work. It's a recommitment to the people that you serve. That's why you get up every morning. That's why you were chosen to lead the organization, because of the vision that you shared when you applied for this role. So revisit why this matters. Think about the people that you serve. Reconnect with why you're there. How is it serving your mission? How is it serving your team? How is it serving your growth as a professional? What this purpose does is it will start to ground you in that consistency. Because first you're aware of it. You may not even be aware of the habit that you're in. It just happens. And you find ways to justify it. You've got to be honest with yourself. And then once you name that pattern through that self awareness, now you've got to connect and re engage with why you do what you do. Because at the end of the day, that's what's important. And once you've done that, the third thing you need to do is align with that identity. Align with that identity of the new you. Because now that you have awareness, now that you've recommitted yourself to your mission, now it's like, it's a new lease. Now you get to anchor your consistency to who you're becoming, not just what you're doing, not just the mundane activity. It's the new you. So you can be saying things to yourself like, I'm a leader who builds trust through steady follow up. Or if you said that in a different way, I need to send donor updates. You see, when you say to yourself, I need to send donor updates, that's just a task. When you say to yourself, I'm a leader who builds trust through steady follow up, you're recommitting yourself to the mission. You're anchoring yourself in this consistency. Why? Because now you're aligning yourself with this new identity. And identity drives behavior. When your actions match how you see yourself, consistency becomes natural, not forced. Self sabotage is not a sign of weakness. It happens to all of us. It's basically a sign of misalignment between what you believe deep down and then what you're trying to do. Now you're working on aligning yourself with this new identity. The moment you realign your self concept, your self esteem, how you view yourself, the moment you realign that, it also begins to shift your money story as well. And you become the leader that you are meant to be. And consistency stops being a battle and starts becoming a reflection of your growth. I hope this has been helpful to you. Sometimes these topics hit hard. Go back and rewatch this, go back and re-listen to this. Think about why you do what you do and who you're serving, because at the end of the day, as I always say, this whole idea of fundraising, it's not about the dollars. It's not about the task, right? It's not about the dollars. It's about what the dollars do for the people that you serve. Thanks. And we'll see you next time.